beautiful morning. Oh, what a beautiful day. I've got a marvelous feeling that on this wonderful Sunday morning, everything is going your way. Welcome to the Voice of Hope Connection. I'm your host, D. Foster III, and I want to say thank you for joining us this morning. I believe that there is a word to take you through the week. We are in turbulent times, but that's all right. We've got a grace that will stabilize us even in the worst of times. You know what you do at the beginning? I want you to like, I want you to share. If you're watching live, thank you for getting up with us each and every Sunday morning. Have you seen our The Voice Over Now podcast on Friday? If not, go back and watch the replay. We finalized a series, I Ain't Denouncing Nothing. Have you heard the Voice Over Today audio, where we are honoring the life and legacy of my big brother, Coach James Butch McAdams. And yesterday, oh, how the people turned out in Forestville. I'll talk more about that on my Wednesday's audio podcast. But today, I want you to go to our social media on Wake Up Global Networks on Facebook, WGNINC on X, and Wake Up Global Media on Twitter. Follow us so you'll know what we're doing, how we're doing it, and it's all to be a blessing. I want to say thank you for the subscribers. Thank you for liking. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for following. And I want to shout out always to the replay crew. Come on, replay. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You know, I always say each and every week, and especially moving through these times, we never know what a week is going to bring. We always hope for the best. We believe for the best. We send out our positive synergy of energy. But sometimes the way life is, life has twists and turns. But we always say there's one thing that we know that we can count on, and that is a word from the Lord. You know, years ago, I remember I had a Mustang 5.0, and this Mustang had a quality that I loved, especially when it needed to deal with the rough hills and the rough terrain, and that was called turbo. You know, so I did a lot of racing in those days. You know, the 5.0 was the thing, and we'd go down to the highway should I say that? That was years ago. The highway that leads to nowhere, and and one of the things when I needed some push, right? I needed some energy. I needed some synergy. I needed to get ahead. I would kick in the turbo. And the turbo provided extra energy to see me through to the finish line without strain. Well, can I tell you that as you go into this week, you have spiritual turbo called the grace of God. That's right. Now, I know we sing a lot of songs about grace and we talk about grace, but here is grace at its raw essence. Here is grace relevant. Here is grace livable. It's God's ability working in you and through you to do what you cannot do. Yes, it's God's ability working in D and through D to do what D himself cannot do. And all you've got to do, like I did with that Mustang 5.0, to activate the turbo is push the button. I had something on the steering, on the gear column called turbo. I just take my index finger and press turbo, and some extra energy would kick in. How do I access the grace, the spiritual turbo of God called grace this week? Simply say, God, I need your grace. That's it. You ain't got to go on a fast. You ain't got to turn down your plate. It simply says, God, I need submission, yielding your grace. As a matter of fact, there's a word in 2 Corinthians where Paul says that his grace is sufficient. Watch this. His strength is made perfect in my weakness. So when I feel the most vulnerable, right? That's surrender. When I feel the most vulnerable, do I have the ability to say, God, and I don't know how many of you like this, but sometimes I get like this, and it's often, I can't pull this by myself. Wait a minute. You're supposed to be a man of faith. I am all of that. But there are times when life's issues are confronting me. I know I'm the only one. I'll take the blame. I know you don't have this problem, so I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to those who can identify that sometimes you come up against life's issues and you just can't pull it. You ain't got it to give. But one thing it is that you got a turbo on the inside of you called the grace of God. And Paul says his grace is sufficient. His strength is made perfect in my weakness. Therefore, I will glory in my inabilities. What did he say? He said, you know what? I get happy when I can't pull it, because that's when I know that turbo is going to kick in. So all I jumped on to remind you this week, no matter what you are facing, no matter how rough the terrain, no matter how treacherous the race seems to be, that you got turbo on the inside of you called spiritual grace. All you got to do is say, I can't pull it. Grace kick in, and you will be amazed at how the trip will go after that. Listen, I want to say thank you for joining us. I want to say don't forget to follow us. Don't forget to see and view and go back on this channel, WPB, on our Friday, the Voice Over Now podcast, and our audio podcast on Wednesday. Listen, on behalf of Wake Up Liberal Networks and myself, I want to remind you that this week there is grace for the journey. Peace.